Hey everyone, this is Devin Moreno, and this is my first rental property renovation. And obviously, with it being my first, I made a few mistakes. However, it's not too many. The deal is still extremely profitable. So, what I want to do is go into some of the good things and some of the bad things that I did in this property. So, let's talk about it. So as mentioned, this is one of my first rental property renovations, and I pretty much had to take this thing and redo cosmetically the entire thing. So the reason this wouldn't become a gut renovation is because I didn't do a lot of the foundational stuff. Yeah, I redid the electrical and a lot of the plumbing, but definitely didn't install new HVAC, and I definitely didn't tear down all the walls or anything like that. This is mostly a cosmetic thing. However, during that process, I did make a few mistakes, and I wanted to go ahead and go over them. So the first one we gotta talk about, if you've seen my previous videos on this, is the lead. So here behind me, you're seeing essentially a door with these very large, awkward blocks. And the reason why is because when I first had this property and I was renovating it, I got scammed and wanted to save some money. I actually did a video on my first scam contractors where I dealt with them. So I basically was trying to save some money, and I decided not to rip out all the lead in the property. Well, that caused me a ton of issues. See, number one was the fact that now I have to, every single turnover, bring a lead inspector in, have it paint everything, paint all the walls. It's really annoying, really costly, almost obsessively so if it has any cracking. Then you have to register your property as a lead property, and then the most important part is you can be sued. And if a person gets lead poisoning in your house and you are considered only lead safe and not lead free, you can be sued and they will win even though you were declared lead free. So you have to be very, very careful about leaving lead in your properties. I would recommend just getting it out, get rid of it. One of my mentors, Mark Owen, talks a lot about lead, so I won't go into it. It's in a previous video that I've done, but which I will link down below. But essentially, I had to spend an extra $2,000 to rip out these door frames. Couldn't even put in normal door frames that you're used to in modern houses because the flooring wouldn't have really matched. There's a lot of space that's gonna be left out. And also, even in the upper parts, now you can't really tell, but there was a lot of lead up there as well. And this was all over the place. I mean, just little areas here and there where I had lead, and I should have just gotten rid of it the first time. Even this next door jamb you see behind me, this also had lead. And then the risers on the staircases, everything. So they had to rip all of that out, and I had to spend $2,000 to get all that done, get it re-inspected. So that's definitely something I would have changed the first time. Just get rid of it when you have the trash haulers already coming. Now you don't have to pay them twice. And now when you have, when you're already ripping apart the house, see, now when my guys rip apart the house, I'm like, please don't damage anything, when before I wouldn't have had to worry about it. So that's one big advice I have for you. Another big one is what you're seeing here above me, and that is a mini split. Now, it's not about the mini split itself. Mini splits itself aren't bad, but the problem is that I over-renovated the property. You never want to over-renovate the property. So here's the thing. I invest in an area of Baltimore City that's kind of like a lot of the lower end homes. I do have some higher end ones, but there are a lot of lower ones. This is in a lower end neighborhood. So buying this for the AC that I wanted to put in there is not really adding any value, and it can cost me a lot of money, and it won't add to the appraisal very much, or at minimum might get the actual value that I paid in. I paid $4,000 for this one and another one and then another bedroom to be installed. But also, it really doesn't add to rents. If the area dictates that a one-bedroom house rents for $900, you're not suddenly getting a lot more than that. So now to make up my cost, it is going to be really, really hard. You can't, even if you said for $100 more, you're still not gonna make it up in the long term. I mean, yeah, maybe 3 years later, almost 4. But you really could have just done better with just simply putting some window units. This area already has a ton of window units, so I really didn't need to necessarily install those mini splits. Plus, they add other complications. So things like this Tenants don't know how to use them. Now every time they break, I have to get specialized technicians out to come and fix them. I mean, it's such a pain in the butt. I definitely would recommend a duct system over these things for if you have like a house that needs a lot of rooms, because now I need one of these per room. So definitely a duct system probably would have done me a little bit better, but again, it's not about the mini split itself, it's about over-renovating. Don't keep adding to your property. So now it does have AC, so okay, great, but I would still recommend just doing the bare minimum. Little side note here, I'm not really sure why I did this, but I put the sink right underneath the window instead of with this this window here. So that's something I probably should have corrected for next time, is move the vanity over a little bit. Now women will have a hard time, like, you know, actually doing their makeup. So I'm sorry, ladies, but obviously first property, I was a little bit new. So one last mistake I made was not removing these baseboard heaters. I did this later on, but you may notice that I have these like wall heaters kind of down there. So basically these baseboard heaters are pretty much half the efficiency in energy output, and then they don't even heat up the room as much as the wall heaters that I mentioned earlier. So I started replacing them, and the reason why is because they increase the tenant's utility bill quite a bit. You see, the problem is if the tenants have a high utility bill, then they're gonna have a hard time paying your rent. So you wanna make it as easy as possible for them. Not so easy that you install a mini split maybe, I mean, those are highly energy efficient, so okay. But you want to at least let them, you know, be able to control the temperature pretty easily. If you do have a duct system, definitely insulate the house properly, because otherwise their utility bills are just gonna go nuts and they're just gonna hate renting in that house. So now that we've brought up some of the things I did wrong, let's talk about some of the things I did right. And one of the things I definitely love that I did right is these lights. These are LED lights that are not even bulbs, they're actually bulbless lights that pretty much you just put a fixture in there. They're real easy and they last like 10 years. Tenants don't have to worry about them. I don't have to replace them. It is beautiful. I put LED lights all over this house. They come in many different colors. You don't have to do these bright ones like the bedroom. They have the more warm room kind of light. So, but these things will last a while and I don't have to ever worry about them. So that's really the key part, is the fact that I'm glad I made this tenant like friendly, kind of maintenance free, including also these floors here. So if you see these floors, these are vinyl flooring. Highly recommend these, except I would get the plank versions. I kind of got the, not the sheet, but they're kind of adhesives. I would definitely get the plank click lock versions. But I mean, essentially, my tenant here had a cat and a large German Shepherd, and everything is smelling fine. Everything's great. Didn't have to worry about it. It's all good. In fact, the only thing that I think took a hit from that are these blinds here. So that's another thing I could go into, maybe if or not, but definitely get luxury vinyl plank flooring. It is going to make your house as maintenance free as possible. And one last little note is these appliances. See, I made sure to put in my property rental grade basic appliances. So maybe in a higher end house, you can't really do this as much, but by doing it this way, now anytime one of these breaks, I can get another rental grade basic appliance. I don't have to worry about needing to get something fancy because something fancy already existed. Now this will cost me $200 to haul this away and bring in a new one. And when I say new, I mean a used one that has been fixed up. So absolutely you want to do that because you've lowered the expectations. Now here we are, $200. We have a gas stove that's $200. You can see I'm saving lots. All my appliances, including the washer and dryer downstairs, only cost me a grand total of $800. So this is absolutely something you'd want to do if you have these lower end properties. Even if you don't, make sure you get a used appliance guy who does haul them and bring them out. You don't necessarily want to have to go to Sears, otherwise you will be getting the high end, very expensive stuff. So, but that's one thing that has saved me a ton of money in the long run. Well, that is it, everyone. I hope you appreciated that video. I'll be going through a lot more of my properties and just talking about what I love about it, what I didn't, about certain renovation tips. So each one will be a little bit different. There's definitely little variations of mistakes I made in each one, or positive things. So let me know, comment below, what did you think of this type of video? And I hope I'm gonna bring you more valuable information very soon in the future. I'll talk to you all very soon.